Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Whip Tips, and today we're going to be doing a bunch of things. We're going to be replacing the timing set, so the chain, the pulleys, everything. We're going to be cleaning up the actual timing cover, and here's the time. I got a Cloyes heavy duty timing kit, so it comes with pulleys and chain and one of these plastic things that the chain rubs against. We're going to be cleaning up the timing cover and replacing all the seals and gaskets. We're also going to be swapping out the main front crankshaft seal with a mopar seal. This felpro kit came with a seal, but I'm going to guess that mopar is a little better. I don't know. I'll compare the two and decide which to use. While I'm in there, in order to get to all the timing stuff, you have to take apart a whole bunch of stuff, including removing the alternator. So I figured just a little preventive maintenance. The Jeep that I have is almost at 200K, so I figured I'd go ahead and swap out the alternator. And last but not least, somewhere in there, we're gonna do the actual harmonic balancer. Now over here, you'll see I'm replacing the reservoir as well, the coolant reservoir, because somewhere I'm leaking air. I'm not leaking coolant, but air is getting into the line, and I think it's because the hose or part of the old coolant reservoir is cracked or something like that. So hopefully that will fix it. Haven't been able to track that one down yet, where that leak is coming from. So anyway, let's get to it. Looking at the engine bay here, we're going to do a bunch of stuff up front. Since we're going to be dealing with the alternator, I'm going to go ahead and probably disconnect the battery first, okay? Then once that's disconnected, I'll start working on getting this fan shroud out of the way, get the electric fans out of the way. What I probably will do is keep the belt on there as long as I can, because if I keep tension on there, then removing the mechanical fan will be easier, and that's something you have to do eventually in this whole process. Once I get that stuff out, I think this may change as I go through the video. I'm just giving you a general sense. Like, you've got little screws holding in your electric fans right here and here. Those are going to come out. Then we pull the electric fan out through the top, disconnect the electrical connectors, and then from there, once I get this off as well. Now this is connected. This is difficult to get off for me with the mechanical fan in place. So I'll unbolt this or unscrew it, but I might leave it there for now. I'm going to have to, because I'm doing harmonic balancer and timing kit and everything, I can't come in through the bottom and do all this. I have to have access to it. So I'm going to be pulling off this this front, whatever this thing is called, cowling or whatever it is. That's coming off, grill's coming off. The light bevels are going to come off. Turn signals below the headlights are coming off. The little marker lights on the sides are going to have to come off. Electrical connectors disconnected, all that. Then I'm going to have to take off this cross member, radiator, and both the radiator and the condenser are going to have to disconnect it and come out, which means I'm going to have to grab, radiator coolant as it spills out all over the place. I think I mentioned in the run up to this, I'm changing this out. I mean, if you look at it, somebody was clearly worried about, leakage and other things here. So I think it's time to change the old overflow hose. So that hasn't arrived yet, but hopefully it'll get here soon. And let's just go ahead and get started, yanking some of this stuff out. I'll start here on the battery, removing the terminals. So next thing I'm going to do is try and remove this electric fan over here. Let's see what size these screws are. I'm going to unscrew these as well on the fan shroud. Undo this connector, push down, pull apart. That's done. Let's see how hard it is to fish this out. I may have to, instead of just keeping it in here so I don't lose the bolt, I'm going to have to set that aside. There's big plastic lip that's going to get in the way. If the fan doesn't come out right now, that's fine. I'll just, I'll take it out when I take the front end apart, just like I'm going to do with the mechanical shroud. Pull this out. You know what? There. Let's get that out of the way. Connector out. And there's that. All right, sorry for the angle, but we're taking off the hoses next, and we're going to start draining this puppy. Now, I'm going to take off this top hose and hope that no radiator fluid comes out. I can't remember what the deal is with this stuff, because what I want to do is, I got a nice clean, I'm using a nice clean oil container. So I've never used it to drain oil, and I'm going to catch as much as I can of the radiator fluid that comes out. But I want to do that from the bottom hose, where the bottom radiator hose goes into the bottom of the engine, block. And that way I can kind of guide and direct as much fluid as I can into the catch. So I'm going to try this top part first to see if I can pull it off without radiator fluid shooting all over the place. Probably dumb. I should probably start with the bottom, but hey, guess what? You get a free show. Let's see what size this is. It's got one of those hose retainer things. That's also 5/16, it looks like. Hey, that may be where, this may be where my leak is. That thing is not tight. Holy cow. Heck, I bet that's, yeah, that hose retainer's loose now. Let's see if we can get this off without gunk flying all over the place. Well, a little bit of fluid came out, not too much, not too bad. It's not gonna flood the garage or anything. put you, you're gonna drain. No, put you there and you're good. There we go. All right, cleaned up most of that, onto the bottom. Here we are underneath the car. Try and put my iPhone someplace where you can still hear me, but won't get wet. We're going for here, right here. Take that off, disconnect it from the water pump, and then hopefully get as much as we can into this catch thing that I've got underneath here. The reason I'm doing that is because I've got special fluid that it's safe to use with, what's it called, copper heater cores. It's safe to use with copper heater cores, but I can't get it locally. I have to order it, and I'll put a link to it. I see people use those aluminum heater cores, and I'm like, I can't bring myself to do that. Those things just corrode so quickly. And if you've ever done a heater core on one of these, you know why you want to avoid that at all costs. Basically, you have to remove the whole dashboard, and it is not fun. Man, that's hard to get at. It's in a tight little spot there. Huh. None of my hose clamps were really all that tight. All right, so that should be loose now. Break that free. Okay, it's really gonna come out here. Hopefully, we won't get the GoPro. That'd suck. Holy cow. So that came out way faster and way more voluminous than I thought it would. But we've caught a lot of it. I don't know if we've caught enough of it, but I've still got some spare radiator fluid. So I'm gonna do some cleanup around the garage here, and then I'll come back. By the way, it got my iPhone, didn't get my GoPro. My GoPro is actually enclosed in a watertight container. Boy, did it get my iPhone, so I want to try and clean that up too. What you want to do now is remove the bezels first, then we're going to get the blinker lights. The bezels have two screws right up here. Come out real easy, don't lose them. There's a bezel, and then the blinker lights are also Phillips head. Come out real easy too. One screw there, and one screw down here. disconnect the, let me see how these ones work. Looks like they've got these squeeze connectors, but the squeeze things are so recessed and so far apart. I don't see how you can do it. It's got to do one side at a time. It would help if I had a better tool. I'm trying to use my Phillips head. There's one. That one out. And just be careful while you do this in case it's easy to get things mixed up. I don't think it is. I think this is only going to go back in one way, but you never know. So if you're extra cautious, take pictures and stuff, that might not be a bad thing. All right, and then you go ahead and do the same on the other side. And I'm going to do this first real quick. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that you do have to take off these side markers. So let's go ahead and do that real quick, and then I'll go to the other side. Sorry if I get in the way. It's basically, you got two Phillips head, one at the bottom, one at the top. And if I'm not mistaken, this does not have an electrical connector that disconnects, but you do have to undo those two screws. We'll find out if I'm wrong. Okay, you just do the same thing on the other side, but before I get there, next thing you're going to do after you get all that done on the other side is take your front grill off. And for that, you got a series of Phillips heads. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? I'm gonna have to take off this other bezel first before it'll let me do that. So anyway, you get the idea. You can just do the rest. Not a big deal. When you're done, when I'm done disconnecting all this, before I pull the grill out, I'll come back and show you how to pull it out. Now that I've got the bezel removed on this side, this just comes forward. You can just pull it up and out. Next thing we're gonna do is take a look at this front cowling. I believe at this point it's held on by 6 nuts that attach to bolts that stick out from the cowling itself. So you've got basically 4 along the middle and then 1 on either side at the top. So I'm going to get those off and see if that'll start to wiggle free. We'll find out. I believe those are 10 millimeter. Now this would be a good time if you need to paint your front part here. The thing I keep calling the cowling, I have no idea what it's called, to be honest. But whatever this thing is, the fiberglass thing on your front. At least mine's fiberglass. I've got a 2000 XJ. I don't know if it changed at any point or something, or if that's something that's not always the case, always going to be fiberglass. I have no idea. This would be a good time to paint. I must have missed something. Oh, you know what? I believe you've got bolts in there, if you can see that. Let me check my notes. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see back there. There's a nut right in there. It's all rusty and stuff. There's one on each side. Got to remove those. I'm going to do that off camera, and then I'll see if the cowling will come off then. All right, I think that's got it. Let's give it a try. Got those last two nuts out. Yeah, it's coming off now. Don't know how it's stuck in there though. Trying to be careful because this is fiberglass and I don't want to break anything. See, the plan is for me to take this cowling off and then disconnect the headlights from the back. It should work just fine. There we go. All right. So now I'm going to disconnect the headlights from the back. This is just one of those squeeze and pull things. Are you stuck? There we go. There's that. What's this hung up on? Ah, there's a wire loom here. So I got a wire loom here. I don't know if you can, let me get a light too. There's a wire loom here. I'm gonna have to disconnect the wire loom there, cut the tape here, see what's holding it on, or maybe looks like there's something poking through the front right there. So I'm gonna have to push that out. You get the picture. And there's more down at this end. And it may be attached over there as well. So let me get all that out, then I'll come back. Just switching to my iPhone here for a second. So what you're dealing with is this. Let me get my finger out of the way. You're dealing with a series of these push clips, right? That just have the jagged edge and you push it through. And these kind of squeeze clips and push them through the hole. So you just have to do that all the way down the line for this wire loom here, and then it will you can pull the cowling off and free, and that's it. So we got that done. I'm going to tuck this out of the way and move on to the next step. All right, next thing we're going to do is remove this upper radiator support here. There are 2 bolts here, one around the corner of the lip that you can't see here. Anywhere where there's a bolt, basically, remove it and until you can get it free. I'm just going to go ahead, start here, work my way down the line. These 3 out over here, you can see how rusty this is. I'm gonna try and do something about that. And I can feel it coming loose over on this end. But you can see it's attached to the radiator. When I move it, it moves the radiator. So I believe you also take out these bolts. I think they're all 10 millimeter. I am just gonna work my way down here. Another one right there. 1, 2. Looks like that one snapped off at some point, but there was a third one there. Man, this is so rusty. Anyway, I'm just going to do that and then I'll come back. My GoPro camera died, so I'm using my iPhone right now. And I want both hands for doing this, but I'll be right back. All right, so that did it. Yeah, there are 2 nuts holding the radiator to that support. So I took those nuts off, but I'm going to go ahead and put those back on right here. There's one. The other one's on this side. I'm going to go ahead and put those back on so I don't lose those nuts. All right, and now we are moving on to, let's see how to pull both the radiator and the condenser. I don't know if you can do it as a unit. There are a couple of things we have to do first, though, on the radiator itself, and I'm wondering if this is enough to get that mechanical shroud out. We'll see. You have to take off this top, I'm losing my brain again. This line that goes to the transmission fluid cooler line. Take that off right there. And then there's another one down low. And I'll have to get to that later. Can't see it from here. Maybe that's, no, there's got to be a feeder and a return. And I think that's the one down low down there. You can't really see it, my shadow's in the way, but it's way down at the bottom. And you can see it going in there. Let me see if I can pull it with my other hand. Right in here, right there. But I think the way you disconnect that one is with a, well, we'll have to see. I don't know if I need one of those special disconnection tools for fuel and AC lines, or if this is, if I can just unbolt it down there. We'll see. Anyway, let me do some research. I'll come back. That thing looks pretty rusty. It's going to be a tough job, I think. But here's one of these tools that I'm talking about, where this is, I think, a 1/2 inch tube spring lock tool. So you open it up, and you can see how inside there, it's got that little, let me see if I can do this with one hand. Keep it open for you guys. See how right there, where my thumb is, the tip of my thumb, there's like a flange sticking forward. This basically clamps around there, and then that flange, where the tip of my thumb is, now the tip of my pinky, that flange right there will slide under this lip right here and undo a catch. So I have to push the flange this way. At the same time, I'm pulling the lines in opposite directions to detach them. I'm going to need both hands to do this. I apologize. We'll see if I can get it done. That's what it looks like with the tool attached. I'm going to push this in that direction, right? At the same time, I try and pull these apart. There's no way to hammer on them or anything. So this is going to be really fun. I may try and wriggle the mechanical shroud out first to get that out of the way. I can move the radiator back and forth, so that might be worth doing. And then I'll try and tackle this line. I've made just a tiny little bit of progress here, maybe 1 or 2 millimeters. That strip of that kind of rust right there where the tip of my finger is. That's how far I've gotten it. This is just really, really tight on there. So keep trying. All right, so trying another tactic here. I got my fuel line disconnector set, tried one of those. And what I did was I pushed it in as far as I could with my fingers. Then I took a pair of big channel locks and did this basically all the way around this rim. Just pushed it in because there's like a spring in there that this has to push and disconnect and raise up above a lip. So in theory, if I've done that correctly, all I need to do now is pull them apart. We'll see. Pull and twist, I should say. Twisting helps. I'll come back in a second. So that definitely worked. Finally got it done. You just have to really work at it, wriggle it back and forth, try and twist it. That'll be hard. It's just a lot of wriggling back and forth. Whack it gently a few times with a hammer in case there's any grunge or whatever, keeping it stuck together. And then you got to do the same thing. I'm right in the middle, right in the way of the light. There's one right down there. I don't know if you can see that right there. You have to do the same thing with that one. But hopefully, I'm going to work on the transmission coolant lines, and then hopefully that'll be the last thing I do. And when I do the transmission coolant lines, I can bring up the condenser and radiator as a unit and get easier access to those lower parts. So we'll see how that goes. What I'm going to do now, I hope, is remove that upper transmission coolant line right there. Right there. So we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna have to figure out what tool I need, and then I'll come back and tell you. I'm thinking a crow's foot of some kind. Anyway, I'll come right back. So for this top transition coolant line, I have an adjustable that's holding on to kind of a nut that goes, or a hollow bolt that goes straight into the radiator. And then I used a 19 millimeters crow's foot to break free this nut right here. You can see I can spin it now with my fingers. And so that should do it. Let me see if I can do this on camera. Well, there goes that. There you go. So that's free. Now I got losing a little bit of transmission fluid, not too much though. I've got extra I can add if I need to. So now all we've got is the lower transmission line down there and the lower AC line right there. And you'll notice I was able to pull out the fan shroud once I got that top AC line disconnected. Had enough wiggle room in the radiator and condenser unit that I could just pull the fan shroud out at that point. All right, on to the next. Got to figure out what I do for that lower transmission line. So in reviewing next steps, I think the easiest thing for me to do is go for this AC line. Once I get that done, then I'll tackle that lower transmission coolant line and take a break so I can charge my my GoPro. All right. So got both of those disconnected. Over here, disconnecting this lower line here. Let's see if I can get this lower line right here. All it takes is one of these. Again, one of those kind of fuel line, AC line tools, disconnector tools. Let me see if I can get this off here and show you which one I used. This is a smaller one. Right there. So that basically, if you look down through here, here's another one. You clamp that around the transmission line, then you push it down and it disconnects those spring locks right in there. So last thing I have to do here, I forgot, there's a little screw. You can see it coming through on this side, holding this this kind of line clamp here. And I'm going to undo that, and then the radiator condenser unit will be 100% free, and I'm just going to set it aside. One thing I want to add, so over here is where the transmission fluid cooling lines are. I had to plug that up with some paper towel because it was draining all over the place. There is still coolant in here. So what I'm going to try and do is, there's the outflow end over here by these two AC lines. I'm going to tip, by the way, my AC system is completely screwed up. I'm going to basically have to replace everything. So if I've been treating my AC lines a little rough and, you know, laying it on the condenser here, it's because eventually I'm going to have to replace all that stuff anyway. So don't do this to your unit. Place it on the garage floor like this. I'm sure it's probably okay, but still. But anyway, I'm going to tip this over into my catch basin, try and drain out all the rest of the coolant, and then I'm probably going to rest it on this on the floor so that the transmission fluid end is up in the air and it won't drain. Here we are. Next steps. I'm going to take a break here and try and get my GoPro all charged up. Next steps are behind the mechanical fan here. You can see there are four bolts there. I believe those are 13 millimeter. I'm going to take those off. I'm going to do it while the belt is still on, because that gives me tension. After I do that, if you want to, you can take the belt off. I might just keep it on just for a little longer in case it helps me get this bolt loose. There's your harmonic balancer, and that's the bolt keeping it on right there. So I might keep the belt on while I loosen that bolt a little bit, break it at least, and then loosen it. We'll see. Then loosen the steering up here with the power steering unit up there is how you loosen the steering up. So anyway, in case you don't know, that's your compressor for your AC. Mine's shot. Got to get rid of that thing, get a new one. But underneath that is the alternator, that I'm going to be replacing. So basically the general order of things that I'm going to do next: take off the mechanical fan with those 4 bolts. Decide then if I want to loosen the belt or not. If I don't want to loosen the belt, I'm gonna crack that loose probably. Then I'll loosen the belt and remove the belt. Then I'll basically remove these 4 bolts on the compressor, set the compressor aside, take off the bolts that hold the compressor engine mount. So this is just a mount right here, aluminum I think, bolted to the engine block. Take that off and pull the mount out and out of the way. Then I'll loosen up the compressor, or the alternator underneath, remove the electrical connections, and pull the whole alternator out. Once you do all that, then you can get access to your timing chain, which it's basically back here behind the fan there. So anyway, it's been a tough road up until this point, but I'll keep going in a few minutes. All right, I'm back. So next thing I'm going to do is I am going to crack loose this bolt here. Hopefully I've got the GoPro pointed at it. This is your harmonic balancer right here. That bolt right there is holding it on. So I'm going to crack that loose. Then I'm going to do, like I said, I think just earlier, I'm going to remove the 4 13 millimeter bolts for the mechanical fan, or I'm going to loosen them, I should say. I'm not going to remove them. And then once I've got those 2 things loosened up, then I come over here. Oh, gosh, I can't turn this around, but that's okay. To the power steering pulley, and I'm gonna release the tension on this. This is how you tighten your belt and release tension, basically, is with the power steering setup here. So let's go ahead and get started. So I've got a 19 millimeter socket on there and a breaker bar, and I'm gonna go ahead and, oh, darn it. So even though I left the belt on, that's gonna turn. So I gotta figure out another thing with that. Maybe I'll use a coat hanger or something. Let's see if having the belt on helps me with these 13 millimeter bolts over here. And just so you guys get a good look at what I'm doing with these 13 millimeter bolts. So what I'm doing is basically, if you look down in there, try and get out of the way of the light, you can see the 4 bolts there. Maybe you can't. So basically, I'm going to go around here and do all 4 of those. I don't really have any place good to put the camera, so I'm just going to plop it right there, and we'll just see how this goes. Not a lot of room to work here. Maybe those aren't 13 millimeter. I looked and I thought that, yeah, those are 13 millimeter. Okay. I don't know why this isn't going on. Maybe it's too fat. That sucks. Yeah, this there's not enough room to put the ratcheting part of this combination wrench on, so we're just gonna break them. And it looks like they're pretty loose. After you break them free, they get pretty loose pretty quickly. So this should be fine. That's that. Next, we're going to remove tension off of this pulley right here. That's a 15 millimeter bolt. And then we'll adjust the, we'll loosen up the adjuster to pull the fan, the serpentine belt off. Ugh, that is on tight. Oh, man. Give that a good few turns there. Get it nice and loose. Then we'll loosen right up here. Get that light out of your eyes. The adjuster bolt is at the, it's just right next to the fan belt there where my ratchet is. And it's also 15 millimeter. And as it gets looser, this should get looser, and hopefully it is. May have to loosen this up just, no, it's fine. So this should come off, I think. I don't know why it's not quite there yet. There we go. Now, in case you're wondering why I'm not doing a whole bunch of other stuff, like this would be a great time to do my my water pump and stuff. I've already done all that. I've done my thermostat. I've done my water pump. When I first got the Jeep, I made sure to do those. So those are all free and clear now. I don't have to come up with those. I will give them a quick once over, make sure you know, everything's cool. The other thing you can give a once over to is immediately, like, to the right of where my finger is pointing down here is your steering box. Jeep XJs have this spacer that can often break, and when it breaks, it can cause a little bit of looseness that can contribute to death wobble. So I'm going to do a video soon showing that and basically replacing that and taking care of it. Because as you know, if you watch this channel, I've had some death wobble, man, and trying to figure out what's going on. Anyway, so at this point, let's turn back over here a little bit. This thing should come off. I thought it should come off. All four of those have been, let me see. I don't want to bend the blades or anything, but let me see if I can pry something. It was just stuck a little bit, I think. You have to kind of get in there with a pry bar or a screwdriver or something. Start working it free. Find a direction in which you wriggle, and there you go. Next thing we got to do, secure this puppy, I don't know, with a coat hanger or something, and try and crack that nut free off the harmonic balancer. So I saw somebody else do this. I'm stealing someone else's idea off of YouTube, sorry. I've got a coat hanger basically going through the spokes of the harmonic balancer and wrapped around the sway bar. So if you don't have your sway bar, I guess you can't do this. Anyway, we'll see if this works. It's going to rotate a little bit until it catches that coat hanger. And let's hope that the coat hanger is strong enough. I don't think this is going to work. Damn. This is like the third time I've tried this. Hopefully it'll work this time. I've seen somebody do this before and it worked for them, so I'm not going to give up. Although as I look at this, I'm wondering how could that have worked? It's turning. Out of the way. Yeah, it worked. All right. Whew. Don't forget there's a washer here. Don't leave it there and lose it. I'm always scared I'm going to do something stupid like that. Well, there it goes. So set this aside. Make sure you don't lose it. I'm looking at all that grease caked on there and I'm thinking, man, I don't know what I'm going to find under there. Like that is a ton. That is just a ton of sludge. That's like, I don't know, that's like a 1/4 centimeter of sludge and stuff just on there. It's so nasty. All right, so I'm probably gonna get some wire cutters and clip off the coat hanger that I just used, and then we'll move on. So I'll come back once I clipped it off. Now we're gonna put on the harmonic balancer puller, and you can see at the tip here, I just rented this from AutoZone. The tip has this thing that basically, it goes right here. It's gonna sit right there in the center, but it's not gonna go in and mess up the threads that for the bolt that I just pulled out. Let me use my other hand so you can see it better. So the tip will sit right there, okay? And then these holes right here, the small ones along the inside, those accept the threads on this bolt that comes with the kit. So what you want to do is just set it up. Let me get it under here. Darn. You just want to set it up. For now, I just want to get one threaded part way, enough that it can hold it in place. And you want to make sure you get enough threads in there for sure. You don't want this flying out once you start putting pressure on it. Apologize again for my arm. Doing the best I can. All right, so I'm just going to ratchet that in a little bit just to make sure it's seated and everything. You also want to kind of get them as even as possible because it's going to be pulling on them, and you want equal pressure applied so it goes straight. So I'm just going to have to eyeball it. Hopefully it'll be close enough. Let me get up here. So I think that's gonna do it. So I'm just gonna get it started here. And then I'll have to come in from underneath. See what size we're working with. Well, I got an issue. There's not enough room to work with. Every single video I looked at basically said there's plenty of room. Not in my case. There is not enough room. So I'm gonna have to come back and figure out, maybe I'll use a crow's foot. I don't know. So the one I got from AutoZone, I had to use a crow's foot combo with a ratchet on one side. And I'm gonna see if that works. I just felt it give, so this is working. But there's definitely not enough room in my case. Your mileage may vary, but if you're gonna do this job, I'm glad I went the route of taking everything off the front, because I would not have been able to do this job from below without doing that. So sorry, looking for a way to keep this on the son of a gun. careful. This thing's heavy and I'm worried it's just gonna fall right out on me. I'm getting close. There we go. All right. Okay. Ugh, smells. That does not look good. All right. On to the next thing. Next thing we're going to do is crack open these 4 bolts right here. Then we're going to got to get some of this stuff out of the way, maybe. Well, I'll worry about that when the time comes. After that, we're going to lift the compressor up and put it out of the way. I may have to move the camera to do that. I may have to get this out of the way too. Well, we'll figure it out. Let me get those bolts off first. All right, collect up your bolts, put them someplace safe. Now let's see where I can move this to get it out of the way. And again, I'm not trying to be so careful with my lines because I don't care about my lines. This compressor's shot anyway. So all I need to do is just, I'm trying to see if I can get around some of these cables. All I really have to do is lift it and shift it. That'll do for now. Man, I just got my finger really bad with that compressor. All right, next thing you got to do, yeah, that's not going to work with the compressor being there. Damn. You got this bolt to undo, that bolt to undo. There's one down here under where the fan clutch, or sorry, the mechanical fan was. You see it right there, hiding. And then there's one under here somewhere. I'm going to do that one last. Let's see if I can just get those other 3 for now. And I'm going to need short. Those are 14s. We're going to see if I can do this. I don't know how. That one might be easier. I can probably get a socket in there. This one, though, well, it'd help if I got it in the right direction. Ugh. Oh, man. If you don't have a set of these ratcheting combo wrenches, do yourself a favor and get one. They are so nice to have. Okay. Now we'll try 14 socket. Yeah, I'm gonna have to move that compressor again. figure out what's got it hung up. Like it won't move backwards for some reason. Now do the one in front. Can't get a socket in there, so I'm going to use the crow's foot ratchet. Oh, but wouldn't you know it, there's not enough room for this either. That might actually be a bigger bolt. What the? I'm getting really sick of Chrysler. So this is a 15 millimeter in front here. And I just had to get my sledgehammer out and put this crow's foot on it and use the sledgehammer to knock this thing loose because it was in pretty tight. And since I can't really get a socket in here, this is going to take a while. So I'll come back when I'm done. There's no point in y'all sitting watching this garbage. This XJ is trying to kill me. All right, so I got the third 14 millimeter. Trying to get back in here so you can see where that third one was hiding. And you see that silver, well, let me point to it. I don't think I can point to it without making a big shadow. I don't know if, right there, see where my finger is? That's where the 14 millimeter one's hiding. Then you can't see it, but back in there is a 16. Let me see if I can turn it from the front and see if you can see it spin. No, I can't turn it. Back in here is a bolt sticking through. Can you see that? God, man, there's so little space. There's a bolt that sticks through. And there's a 16 millimeter nut on that bolt. And the bolt, other side of the bolt is this right here. It's that right there. Okay, so you got to get a deep well socket, 16 millimeters, secure the back nut back behind there with your 16 millimeter socket, and then on the front secure it with your 16 millimeter 15 millimeter crow's foot, like right here. All right, so let me see if I can do this, ratcheting it from the back. I moved my compressor, which made a huge difference in getting access and everything. I basically just put it on top of my fuse box. All right, so you keep doing that until it comes off, and then you're home free as far as that goes. So I did not realize that my water pump bolts are going to have to come out as well. That pulley is going to have to come off. So I should have done this when I still had the serpentine belt on. We're going to see if this impact will take care of it. Yeah. Woo. Don't let it get away from you. There we go. All right. I'm at the point where I'm going to take off the cover to my timing chain and pulleys. And my GoPro just died, of course. So what I'm going to do is go around here, and look at that wasp's nest. I'm going to go around here. I'm going to remove these nuts, I think, that are holding this bracket on, because they also go into here. And I'm going to have to remove this front bracket, I believe. And that's okay, because I'm also going to have to remove the alternator anyway, since I'm changing that out. And so basically I'm going to unbolt everything around the front here, and I'm going to plug the bolts into a piece of cardboard that has all this mapped out, okay? So once you get done with that, then you just pry the cover off, and I'll come back when I'm done unbolting everything. Removed these 3 nuts, these 2 bolts. This bracket came off. I removed a bolt from the front, nut in the back, and now you can see that this is loose. So what I'm going to do is disconnect the cables. There's a positive and a ground, and I'm going to disconnect those. They're on the other side, and then I'm going to kind of wriggle this out. It's pretty tight in on this. Let me see if I can get on the other side and show you. There's a piece of metal that goes through right there. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know how that's going to come out. I really don't, because it's like you need to push it that way, but I can't push it that way because there's that piece of metal going through it. So I don't know. I may have to get some channel locks and try and get that metal out. We'll see. Anyway, I'll come back when it's done. All right, you can see, moving it back and forth, I can get it lower. It's kind of sliding off this bracket here. So that's all you have to do is kind of wriggle it out at this point and set it to the side. I'm not going to throw it away, because maybe in the future I'll have it rebuilt or something. But that's it. Once I'm done with that, then we can get to the nuts and bolts, so to speak, of pulling off that timing cover. So these all these bolts are out now, and these 2 were really loose. I don't know what's up with that. And there are like 4 more where the oil pan joins up underneath. So I'm going to get under the car, get those 4 off, and then I'll be ready to pry off the timing cover. You can see how I mapped it out, right? Those 4 right there are the ones that go underneath. And then there's a rough drawing of the actual cover itself. Now I'm going to see if I can start. I don't even know where to start. Maybe if I get a flat screwdriver in here somewhere, I'll start. I don't know what's aluminum and what's metal. This thing is so gunked up. Oh, man. Let me try and get in through here. Maybe that'll rock it back and forth. Did I forget something? I think I've got it all. All the bolts are out. Well, this may be a struggle. What else is new? Everything else on this thing has been a struggle. I'll come back. Okay, I would be very careful, because I think this is aluminum. But basically, you can put a screwdriver behind this big bolt hole thing right here, and then give a gentle whack or 2 at the end of the screwdriver and kind of bang it toward the camera. And that seemed to knock it loose a little bit. And now it's coming free. So I put quite a bit of RTV on there, and I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's really stuck on there is what's happening. So yeah, I think it's stuck on there. Anyway, that's it. I mean, it's coming off. I'm going to undo this RTV and then pull the whole thing off. We'll get a closer look. Well, that's a bummer. I just put this on when I first redid this Jeep about 1.5 years ago, and it ripped when I was taking it off. So hopefully I can just use RTV or something like that. I don't know what I'm going to do. I think there may be a repair piece in the kit that I got from Felpro, but we'll see. I just marked in white the timing notch there. What I'm going to do is turn this clockwise until I get that white piece to match up with the timing dot, the timing mark here on this sprocket, which is somewhere around here. This is also badly gunked up. I can't see anything. And then once those are close, what I'm going to do is try and basically kind of remove this really fast so that I don't turn it the other direction and move it out of time. We'll see if that works. So anyway, I'll come back when that's done. All right, so took some trial and error, but I finally got the timing marks. There's a slot there. I don't know if you can see it. It's right at the end of my finger. Matches up with the slot there. And a straight line should go through here all the way up to there. So let me go find a straight edge. Okay, checked it with a straight edge, and we are good. So let's see if this will just slide off there. All right, got that off. And then this should just come off, I think. I don't think I have to get a puller for that, but let me, I want to say that just comes off by hand, because I think you just put it on by hand. Let me try both hands and I'll get back to you. All right, y'all, it's the next morning and I'm already exhausted. I did a little bit of cleanup around the bottom sprocket there. Sprocket's not coming off. So I stuffed paper towels in there so I wouldn't get any cleaner down into the oil pan. You don't want that, so be careful of that. You don't want anything falling and getting into the oil pan. So good idea to stuff it with rags or paper towels while you do this work. So what yeah, sorry for the voiceover here, but you can see that I'm using a pry bar to get that sprocket off. And you don't want to do that. I got this idea off of one of the Jeep forums or whatever, where somebody said, oh yeah, just use a pry bar and rock on either side, etc. And it turned out I had to use a big crowbar to do that. The problem is that your crankcase metal right there is not super thick. So what I inadvertently did in trying to use this method was risk cracking the crankcase front there. And so I would not recommend that. It worked, but I would not recommend it. There's another method where you get one of those 3-claw pullers, and I'll put a picture here when I edit the video for the final version. But what you want is one of those 3-claw pullers, and basically you wrap the chain around the crank sprocket. You keep the chain on, and that's going to help with the puller, because there's not much to purchase on the sprocket itself. And then you put like a zip tie to keep the chain on, keep it tight around the sprocket. And then, you go to town with the puller and you just try, it's going to slip and all that kind of stuff. But I think you just keep trying until it works. You really don't have to pull it very far. But I kind of feel like I got lucky here with the crowbar. If I had to do it again, I would not use that method. Okay. So just being clear here. Sorry for the voiceover. Anyway, I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to clean got to clean up all the parts basically now. So I'm not going to show how to clean parts. I'm hoping that you know how to do that. And once I get everything cleaned up, my GoPro should be charged again, and we'll be ready to go with the reassembly, starting with the timing chain. Oh, you made it to the end. That's awesome. Listen, I'm Doc. I'm the one who's, the voice behind these videos. And I really appreciate you taking the time to actually watch the whole thing. That's fantastic. If you've got time, if you want to, if you like the video, hit like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the bell button so you get notified of new videos when I put them up. I'm going to try and do one a week. And I'm going to do a bunch of Instagram stuff, so make sure you follow me there and on Twitter. Instagram's going to be the shorter stuff. I don't have any merchandise yet. I'm planning to as the channel grows. If I succeed, I'll get some merch. For now, if you really want to help me in another way, you like these videos enough, I'm going to put links to my books in the description of the video. I'm a science fiction author in my spare time as well, so I'm juggling a lot of balls. But anyway, I really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you at the next one. Hey, do me a favor and turn this junk off. I don't know how to deal with tech.